everybody. It's wonderful to have you all here at Temple Emanuel tonight. And we could not be more excited for our guests. Bruchim Abaim, welcome. We are so thrilled to welcome you to our sanctuary. And we're particularly thrilled to do that on the week that we read from our Parsha about Joseph's brothers. And Joseph's brothers go on this journey in their life where they grow to try to understand. And he goes through a very challenging journey where he also kind of matures and grows to try to understand. And eventually, the brothers are able to see each other's experiences, particularly with reference to Judah and to Joseph. They can understand each other's place. Now, this morning, my father and I had a conversation, and he told me about relatives we have who are buried in Michigan. And those relatives, my grandfather was actually, my great-grandfather came to America, and the sibling went to Israel. And so we have one family with very different experiences in those two places. And the American Jewish story and the Israeli Jewish story right now, particularly when we think about our young people, is very different in our experience. Tonight, we are so grateful to each of you for being here, for helping us to hear your dreams, your visions, so that you can be our Joseph and help us to be like the brothers and learn and grow and walk with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. So good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Amy Klein, a lay leader here at Temple Emanuel, a board member at the Shalom Hartman Institute, and a proud and enthusiastic supporter of Hartman and its Wellspring programs for teens and college students, both here in North America and in Israel. One of the newest of those programs is the Hazon program, a leadership development program for young Israeli changemakers, including 3 such inspiring leaders and activists who are here with us tonight from Israel, along with Ronit Heyd, Vice President and Director of Hartman's Center for Israeli and Jewish Identity in Jerusalem. I'm going to let Ronit describe Hartman's Hazon program and introduce Noi, Ayala, and Yonathan, but I want to begin by framing the moment that we're in and why they traveled here from Israel to be with us tonight in Boston. We are at a moment in history when many of us are feeling despair, anger, disappointment, and lack of hope. After months of worry over judicial reform in Israel, followed by October 7th, and 2 long years of war in Israel, rising anti-Semitism and anti-Israel and anti-Zionism here at home, after the release of the living hostages, we are finally at a pivot point when so much is at stake for our future. When I look to the future, I look to Hartman. Hartman is a place of ideas and action. It's a place that has conversations that others may not feel comfortable having. It creates programs and transmits ideas to leaders, all in service of the Jewish people, Israel, and our shared future. Hazon is one such program, now in its 3rd year. It was created to answer despair with hope, to turn anger into action, and create leaders that will be equipped to help strengthen and ensure Israel and as a Jewish and a democratic state. So I thank you for being here tonight to show your support for Israel and its future leaders. After hearing their stories, I hope we'll all leave here tonight filled with hope. Ronit, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you very much, Amy, and thank you all for being here. It's really, really wonderful to be in your beautiful space. And it may seem that when the war is hopefully over, and as Amy said, almost all the hostages are back home, apart from one who we're praying will be back very soon. When you talk about, and you want to talk about hope, what does that mean? What does it mean to be hoping when the world is shifting in such a way? And Israeli author David Grossman has this beautiful quote of saying that hope is like an anchor that is being thrown into the future, into the freer and better future from a desperate, difficult reality. And that with that anchor, we pull ourselves towards that desired future. And we focus on this action of pulling ourselves as people and as a society towards that desired future. Because hope for us is not just an abstract idea of something we want to wish for, it's the actual action. We treat hope as a verb. It's a muscle. It's a muscle we want to develop, and it's a muscle we want to shape our story, the story of the Jewish people, the story of Israeli society, and the story of Jewish peoplehood in these days and times. And since I know you know Hartman, the way we tell the story of who we are is crucial to the way we will develop ourselves and develop our society. It's very easy in Israel now to be in a story of victimhood and fear and doubt and constantly waiting to see what will happen now. How will we be able to actually continue safeguarding our country? But when you talk about hope and integrate hope into a conversation, you have to actually ask, how do we take it there? How do we go forward? How do we move, as Daniel Hartman says, from being a warrior nation to a peaceful nation? Taking the huge amounts of solidarity that we saw in the streets for the hostages, the rallies to release hostages, how do we translate that to heal the social fabric in Israeli society? How do you take the ideas of Judaism, liberal Judaism, and translate them into shaping our democracy and making sure that, yes, every life counts in Israel? And how do you use that to share, to build a shared society across those very polarized divides that we have in Israeli society? And in order to be able to do that, you need both the knowledge and the values in order to build the vision, but you also need the tools and you need the community to be able to do that. And that's why we started Hazon, which is a leadership training program for students in their university, most of them in the first degree at university, a program that has now started its third year with 4 groups around the country in Haifa, Be'er Sheva, Ben Gurion University in Be'er Sheva, Tel Aviv, and Jerusalem at the Hartman Institute. And as many people know, my mood fluctuates according to if I was teaching at a Hazon group or not, because they are the most, as you will hear, curious, committed, enthusiastic people who really want to shape the future of Israel and really want to make it an Israel that we will want to have our children grow up there, have a relationship with. For me, it's too soon to talk about grandchildren, but yes, my grandchildren, I want them to also be there and be connected to the Israel I want to see. So just a couple of words about how and what we do at Hazon before I move it to our friends here. 4 hours a week, the Hazon participants meet for study with the lead Hartman scholars, also to meet with activists and to learn about leadership and leadership skills, and to work as a group to work through their challenges. After they finish the training year, a full academic year, they join the alumni network where they receive mentoring and some seed grants in some cases to build their own initiatives. And for us, as Yonathan said earlier, once you get into Hartman, and I think you also are familiar with this situation, once you get into Hartman, it's very hard to
It's addictive.
to leave. You're just sucked in. So as you will hear, there are a lot of interconnections between the Hazon program and the other Hartman programs. And we just had now the most beautiful experience of a conversation with the teen fellows of the Wellspring program here at Hartman North America, where we were just like at awe with the level of conversation that can be held. So I want to move to you and have you introduce yourselves and tell us in just a few words about yourself and how you got to Hazon. Noi, we'll start with you.
So before I start, you said that every time you came and meet with the Hazon group of students, you became so full of hope. And I must share with you that now after meeting your teen, right, in that room, I'm full with hope to see the future of Jewish communities in America. And that was a very powerful conversation. So there is hope. So my name is Noi. I'm 30 years old, originally from Ashkelon, which is close to the Gaza Strip. Yeah, sure. Or maybe this? Is it okay now? Thank you. Um, so I'm originally from Ashkelon. I'm an actress. At the moment, I'm studying psychodrama therapy. And I work in community building with the students in Jerusalem in a nonprofit. And as part of my journey, 13 years ago, I started as a dealer fellow. Now meeting them brings it all back. And my affair with the with Jewish communities in North America started. And every few years I did something. I was a Mechina counselor for people from Jewish from all over the world and doing a program in California, in Baltimore, in New York. And it's always bringing it back, coming back to me. My Jewish identity was actually shaped in North America. The way I consider myself as Jewish was based here. And these connections and relationship that I have with my hosting families and my friends here in North America is one of the most powerful things that I have in my life. And after coming back from one of the programs in California, October 7th happened, and I got an email as a Jewish agency alumni that there is a program who wants to create Jewish and democratic, all kind of optimistic messages. And I was at the rock bottom, not optimistic at all. And I felt that these words, that I need them. Somehow I need to be part of this description that seems like utopia or a dream that I couldn't relay at the moment from where I was. And then finally I joined it, and every year we studied, every week we met, and as Ronit said, we studied and we met activists and people that are so full of hope. And I remember that for me, it was a community that I could share my struggles. And at the moment, one of my struggles was that I went to acting school in Tel Aviv, and we were a mixed acting class of Arabs and Jews, and it was beautiful. It really worked. And then October 7th happened. Everybody fought on Instagram and Facebook, and everything just collapsed and fell apart. And I walked with that wound every week of not knowing, is there anything we can do? And then after joining the alumni network, my mentor from the Hartman Institute encouraged me to take my wound and turn it into action and not just sitting aside and wait. So I founded an ensemble, feminine ensemble of me and two of my friends. One of them, we lived together for 2 years, me, Suhad, and Abil. And we were going through a process of, first of all, team building, just that we could sit together and breathe in.
And Suhad and Nabil, just say their background, because you didn't mention it.
Yes, they are they're Arabs, and they're from Haifa. One Muslim, one Christian. They refer themselves as Palestinians. And first of all, for a few months, we just sit with one of the leaders of Hartman, with Michal, and just team building and just learning how to hear each other's voices and how just to be at the same space uh, without it falling apart. Afterwards, we started to learn about Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, and seeing how similar, like it's the same stories. It's basically the same stories. And now we picked a biblical stories about Lot's daughter, and we're working on a play. And for me, during the entire way, I was so scared. Is it possible now? Can we do something like that? Isn't it dangerous, risky? Am I gonna be canceled? What's gonna happen? And during the entire way, the Hartman Institute was like, okay, we're with you. Let's breathe and just commit to that. And actually, in a few days, I'm gonna meet with the director in New York, and going to see what we can do um, with this project. So I think that the thing that I got from Hartman is not being afraid to dream, because I came very sarcastic and very disappointed from the government, from reality. But now I got little drops of hope and starting to do something.
Thank you. Ayala.
Yeah, so first of all, I'm very, very happy to be here. And like Noi and Ronit said, the teens, or absolutely amazing, amazing. I mean, we're here to bring hope, and they brought me so much hope. It was absolutely incredible. So it is really an honor to be here. So my name is Ayala. I'm a political activist, and I'm also part of Hazon's alumni network team. So I'm originally from Dimona, this city in the south of Israel, and I live in Jerusalem for the past 5 years. I grew up in a very Orthodox household. I went to Orthodox schools. I finished high school, and then I went to Montreal to a gap year through the Jewish Agency, where I realized I can be religious, but with hands. That was like mind blowing, really. And I'm so happy to be in a prayer like room and without mechitzot, without any. It's amazing. I love that. Yeah. So thank you. um, I finished my year in Montreal, came back to Israel, did my Shirut Leumi, national service. Thank you. And then I started my first degree in the Hebrew University. I was always a political person, meaning I always had opinions on things. Like people knew that if they will ask me, I'll have something to say about it. But I never really had a platform to do anything about it. And when I got to university, suddenly it was I could join a political group of students. We had all of these we brought members of the Knesset into the campus, and we tried to make the campus more political, because I believe everything is political, and the more people are involved and are informed, we'll have a better political system and society in general. My second year, we had the judicial reform. Me and my student friends were like, there's no way we're sitting and doing nothing about Israel becoming way less democratic and Jewish. It's like, it really scared us. So we founded this group of students. It started in Jerusalem, a protest group, and then it was all over Israel. We protested together for, I think, something like 40 weeks, maybe 38. And then the war broke out. And on the same Saturday at 12 o'clock, my friends and I, we all established together a civil situation room. Thank you. In Hebrew, it's chamali. It's easier for me to remember.
It's the equivalent of the war room, just for civil situation.
Yeah, we suddenly understood that there are people that needed to be evacuated from near the Gaza Strip because they didn't have houses to be in, and they were in active war zones, and the government and the people that were supposed to take care of them were just nowhere to be found. So at 12 o'clock on Saturday, my friends and I, we took initiative, and we slowly through the days, we got 1,200 volunteers in Jerusalem. Every day, 300 volunteers worked. We had 22 teams, and we worked to bring people from near the Gaza Strip to Jerusalem. We looked for houses for them to stay, or people that were willing to open their house for them to stay with, clothes, food. How are they going to do their laundry? Like, we had families that volunteered to do laundry for these families. It was a crazy experience, really, and it was going for, I think, 4 or 5 months after the war broke out, which was insane. And during the first days of this civic situation room, we realized that we were running for 40 weeks without having any time to sit down and think about what we were doing, because reality was throwing things that we needed to solve. And we didn't learn the tools that we need to use. We would just did it from instinct. So we went to the Hartman Institute, and we were like, hey, we need help. And they said, okay, we had this like program, we wanted to open it, but the war broke out. So let's bring you guys, like 24 students that were in the civil situation room. Let's bring you every week and have you in a room that is safe, that was like very not obvious in these times, like sitting together, thinking about what we're doing, having tools, and just like holding space to everything that we felt and needed to do. And that's how I got to Hazon, and I'm very, very grateful for that.
So thank you, Ayala. Before we move to Yonathan, just imagine what it felt like about 4 weeks after October 7th to be called in, invited by this young group of people who were busy doing all the amazing stuff that Ayala mentioned, very operationalized kind of action of solving a lot of technical problems, and being told, we know that it's on us. We know that there is no other responsible adult in the room, and we understand that now it's our turn. And we need help. We need help to be able to formulate a vision. We need help to be able to translate our values into a work plan and action. And we need the tools. And just the amount of hope that just a conversation like that can give you is incredible. And so we had we didn't plan to open the Hazon program so early in the year. We planned to wait until the academic year started. But thanks to Ayala and her friends, we started a 5th additional group for that first year. So thank you. Yonathan.
Very nice to meet you. You know, I'm sitting here in the center of the synagogue with a lovely audience, and by instinct, I'm almost starting to sing my haftarah from the bar mitzvah. But I will spare you the experience. So I'm Yonathan. I live in Haifa. I am finishing my master degree in political science. How I got into Hazon. So when I started my degree in political science, my bachelor degree, the judicial reform started. And I thought to myself, okay, I'm a student of political science. I have to do something because I have the knowledge. I know everything. So I started to protest. I joined the brother and sister in arms and did a lot of protests. And I had a lot of hope because I saw that the protests did manage to stop a lot of the rules. And then October 7 happened. I will talk about how the day was for me. I was at my grandma's house in Ramat Gan. I finished a party like 5 a.m. I'm not a party man. I'm very, very old-spirited. I go to bed by 10. But of course, in October 6th, I went to party. And in 7, 8 o'clock, I got a message from my commanding officer in my unit. I serve as a commander in an infantry unit in reserves. And he texted me, come. Don't wait for order, just come. So I drove really, really fast to my home in Haifa, got my military gear, went to my base near Rosh Ain. It's the eastern center of Israel. And then we want to get to the Gaza envelope to join the fighting, but there was no bus. The army didn't know what to do. So I called the brother and sister in arms. I said, we need a bus. And they say, okay, we'll give you one. And the army reprimanded me after this, that we didn't wait for them. Can you take a bus from civilian? But we took a bus. We got to Kfar Aza on October 8, in the night of between October 7 and October 8. We finished the fighting in Kfar Aza, spent a week in Kfar Aza, then another month in Be'eri. We took charge of the border between Israel and Gaza when all the other forces start heading to the first invasion. Then we joined the invasion. I went to fight in the Gaza Strip for 6 months. And all of this experience, everything that happened, made me really angry, really confused. I got back to school, to the university. I felt like an alien, like I just came back from Mars. And then after a couple of months, I went to another tour in Gaza, and I injured my back. And the doctor said, "You're not going to be a fighter, not going to be a warrior anymore." And I didn't know what to do with myself. So, and a couple of friends that were activists and childhood friends that were also very active in the protest against the judicial reform, told me, "Listen, there is a great program, really great guys. I think you will enjoy it." And I said, "Okay," because I had nothing better to do. So I joined the Hazon program, and surprisingly, it was a healing process. I could process what I've been through. I could talk about the situation in Israel. I made friends, really good friends, and it was an amazing experience. And I took the anger that I felt against the government, against a lot of the corrupt stuff that happening in Israel, and I said to myself, this year I'm gonna do whatever I can to change the situation, to make sure that there will be a better Israel. And so I started doing a lot of activism work. I joined the Social Justice Center. It's a non-profit organization that runs center in 24 different cities in Israel, from Netivot to Kiryat Shmona. The centers help political activists that promote liberal value. They help them with the like training and connection and everything they need to be more political, to be more active, and to promote more liberal value. I took a leadership role inside the Brothers and Sisters in Arms for Democracy. I'm heading the youth department. We have organization is in most of the big university in Israel. And I also teach in the university, the Navy cadet, that are amazing. It's very fun. And I see it as that I see that I can give them some education, but like more, give them some values about the situation. And that's how I got to this point, to Boston, in this weather.
So, first of all, I want to frame two things because I know you know Hartman. So you know the intellectual activism of Hartman. I'm assuming you also know the educational activism of Hartman. Hazon is the social activism of Hartman. And it's the social activism that brings together the idea of what it means to be a Jewish and democratic state. Because as Yonathan mentioned, for example, organizations like the social justice centers, who work all around the country to help organize for liberal values in Israel. A lot of the people who push for liberal values in Israel do that in a way that is detached from their Jewish identity. The Judaism in Israel, as you probably know, is very much connected to and represented, or seems to be represented by, the very extreme, ultra-nationalist, very conservative version of Judaism that is currently controlling our government and is shaping our democracy and is shaping our public spaces. And by the fact that many people who are fighting for Israel's democracy or for liberal values are doing it in a way that is disconnected from Jewish identity, means that there is this weird, completely unnatural divorce between Judaism and democracy. Those who fight for democracy are like, no, but Judaism is not for us. And those who fight for or want to have the Jewish values more prominent say, if you're pro-democracy, you're against Judaism, which is exactly what we are trying to counteract and make sure that Judaism and democracy in one voice in Israel is what defines who we are as a society. So by having people like Yonathan and Noi and Ayala work in these spaces, bringing the Hartman content and the Hartman thinking, it enables us also to create a much broader circles of working around Jewish democratic values. And I want to ask you, we just had a conversation with those wonderful teen fellows on what it means to have a relationship with Israel, and it won't be a secret to say that relationship with Israel, I'm assuming for many people in the room, is not simple. And I want to ask you what it means for you to love and be inspired by a country and by people who also really frustrate you and really anger you, following what you said, Yonathan, because there's both the love and the anger. What does it mean? What does it look like? And we'll start with you, Yonathan.
So I will say my catchphrase. I am a servant of the kingdom, not the king in Israel. I believe in the country. I believe there is good people in Israel. I despise a lot of stuff that the government is doing. But I do think that it can be changed. It can be a much better future for us and for you too. When you watch TV and see the news in Israel, it won't be all about some minister that's saying very stupid stuff. It will be maybe a great pride parade in Tel Aviv, a Jewish Arab initiative, an achievement in sport. I mean, Danny Avda is playing great. And I believe that it can be a much better day. And there's good people in Israel, very good people. I remember a couple of weeks after October 7, me and my platoon, we guard the border between Israel and Gaza. And we were waiting, we did like an ambush, waiting for maybe terrorists to arrive. And we got some food, and there were 20 people of us. We were 20 people, and we got 15 rations of food. And nobody wanted to eat because he was afraid that the other guy won't have food. So we were all hungry. Because there are people in Israel that cannot stand the fact that the thought that you will be hungry and they will eat. There are people like this in Israel. A lot of people like this. And the government doesn't represent, not them, not us. They don't represent the people that vote for them. And there is also a huge liberal, democratic demographic in Israel that will do everything to make sure that we go to a bright future. And I'm very hopeful that I'm sure at myself that it can be great and it will be great.
Yeah, thank you. Neira.
It's very difficult to hold anger and love towards your country, but I feel like it's possible, and it's possible, like Yonathan said, because the people that are surrounding us. I discovered these amazing group of people during the protests. Really amazing. And I remember me being very upset by the judicial reform. I thought that was like the worst thing that will happen. Didn't know what was going to come, but I had these amazing people that whenever I was upset and I really didn't have the strength, they were surrounding me and reminding me that there is hope. And I feel like that's the most important thing about having this like dual consciousness or thought about our country. Absolutely. And also, I feel like many of the times, like Yonathan said before, anger can bring, and also Noi said that, anger and like hard feelings can bring us to do something. So every time I saw the news, and I was very, very upset by whatever stupid thing he said, one of the ministers said, or whatever, the situation itself, I used to go out and do something about it and remind myself why I love this country so much, because not only me and my friends were outside, but a lot more people. And that's I think that's the whole deal. Yeah, the people. Absolutely.
So no, I want to add to I want you to answer that question too, but I also want to connect it to then how do you transform the anger and the frustration into hope and into action and agency?
So I always criticize my parents, and they ask me, "Why do you do that? We gave everything that we can for you in our entire love. All of your needs are fulfilled. Like, stop coming and pointing when I was 7 years old, you did this and that and that." And then I tell them I do that because I feel safe and because I love you. And for me, criticism is a love language. If I want to change something or understanding something, see that. So I'm facing that, and I'm encouraging you to speak with your parents. Only my mom can do that. My dad can't. But for me, the relationship with Israel, it's very complicated, like any relationship. And I really agree with what Yonathan said about the kingdom and the ruler. And yes, the government maybe do not represent me. And I love the people. I love the people inside of my society. And after October 7th, Ayala shared about the amazing activism she did. I was at the other side. I needed places to house my family because Ashkelon was under massive attack. And my grandparents, which are 100 years old, just moved to Ashkelon. Not a good timing to relocation to Ashkelon, to an apartment without a bomb shelter. And immediately I wrote on Facebook, I need help. And my Israeli friends, my Arabic friends, my hosting families from Baltimore and from all of the Americans, the people that I know from Jewish communities.
Jewish peoplehood experience.
Completely. So it was Jewish peoplehood and partners by land, if it's people that are not Jewish but live in Israel. Everybody just wanted to make sure I'm okay and my family is okay. And that's so universal and so simple and without any ideologies, and it's just people to people. And I feel that the reason I want to raise my kids in Israel, it's very simple. It's because it's a small place and it's very communal. And I feel that yet, even though I'm living there and I have a lot of criticism, I still love this place and I still want to take my guilt and turn it into responsibility and activism. But it's complicated and it's gray. And I think this is now being here every day by day, it's shaping and getting more and more clear. I want us to all see the gray areas and knowing that it's okay to disagree and still feel responsible over this place.
So with this principle of disagreeing and feeling responsibility at the same time, what do you think about what are the ways to do this transformation from anger and despair to hope and agency for change?
I think, like I said, and how I feel, I'm a warrior by heart, by blood, and my battle right now is to change, to make sure that we win the election. It's very important. I feel that my back is against the wall, and there is no other chance. It's fight, flight, or freeze, and I'm choosing to fight. There is no other option, and I have to do it. And there is no way that I can understand like a way that I can stay home and not do anything.
But can you say more about what does it mean? What does it mean to fight? What is the taking it forward?
So I do my best to be the most useful in all of the hat that I have. I have the hat as the head of the Social Justice Center in Haifa. That means that I will work with as many activists as I can to promote liberal value in Haifa. The situation in Haifa is not that Haifa is a very liberal city, but we're in a crisis, in a liberal crisis that City Hall is taking us to a much less liberal place, and we are fighting them in every mean that we want, if that we can, if it's a community, through the community, through protest, through social media. In my hat as the head of the Department of Youth in the Balance System is Armed for Democracy, I try to make sure that as much liberal young people in Israel will go and vote and will go and be political, and that nobody will fall between the cracks and go to the beach in the day of the election. People are doing it. It's on holiday.
It's getting out the vote.
Yeah, it's on holiday, and you have free buses and trains, so they go on a vacation. Terrible. So I'm doing my best to make sure that won't happen. I go to the protest. I scream. It's very relaxing to scream, and everybody is cheering, and all the anger inside of you screaming it out, and everybody is very happy that you're you're using your anger. I go to the committee in the Knesset, and I also scream, but I scream back. Whatever I can, I'm trying to do to make sure that we win this election. I talk with my Navy cadet in the university, try to reach to their heart. When I talk to young people. I'm young, okay, but when I talk to even younger people, closing to my 30s, so I tell them, don't think that anybody know better than you. Not any Knesset member, not any minister, not the prime minister, no professor know better than you. This is your future. You need to take things into your hand and go out there and do whatever you can to change things to the better.
Thank you. Ayala?
Yeah, so I have, I think, two things to say about that. The first one is that I grew up thinking that there will be this like one person that will come and save us, this Superman that will go into politics and we will be saved and everything will be amazing. And I've come to realize that that is not going to happen. So I definitely realized that what is going to happen is a group effort. And in the alumni network team in Hazon, we understand that, and we take all of these amazing, amazing students that come into Hazon's program and finish it and have the right tools, and we try to support them with their own activism. And we do it with a really large group. We're giving them community and mentoring, and we're supporting their projects because we believe that only a big group of young, amazing people that will go into the system, in the political system, the educational system, whatever system they're activists in, only that can have a greater change, and we need a big change in Israel. So that's one thing. And the other thing, that's what I do in my political views and activism. I truly believe that the way we grew up has a tremendous amount of how we see problems. And for me, I'm now part of these groups that grew up very, very, very differently than me. So I come from Dimona, it's a periphery. I'm Mizrahi, my grandparents are from Morocco. I am a religious woman that want to be in politics, and I see how my different identities shape how I see problems very, very differently. And I feel like part of the reason that we got where we got to is because we didn't have enough people with different identities that decide on things in Israel, in our society. So that's like I think my wish to have all of these different people with different identities, politics, education, like whatever tables that exist in Israel. Yeah.
Great. Yonathan, I want to ask you, because you mentioned the army earlier, and you mentioned that you had a lot of anger, and then you went back into Gaza. Can you say a word about what it means to be fighting when you have so much anger?
Okay. I'm fighting when I put the uniform. I'm not angry about I'm angry as a private citizen, but as a soldier, I do everything for love. I put the uniform because I love my soldiers that are under me, my brothers in arms. I love my family. I love my friend. I love my neighbor. All of my neighbors, all of them, Jews, Arabs, Jewish, Baha'im. How do you say Baha'im in English? Baha'im, okay. Baha'im, Cherkessim, everybody. I love them. I live in a mixed city. I have Arab students. I have Arab colleagues in the Social Justice Center in the University of Haifa. I have Arab professors. I'm gonna get married in May, and thank you very much. And there are gonna be Arabs and Jews and Jewish people that gonna lift me up, try to lift me up. I hope if there is an orthopedic here, maybe we'll consult you. And when I put on the uniform, it's from love. It's from love to my friend. And the hard part that was when I got injured, I felt like I abandoned them because I love them and I want to be them. I want to protect them. And it's not from anger. The anger is very present in my personal life, but I'm fighting and everything all the time when I in Gaza and I enter a house and we are walking down the street and it's very, very scary and dangerous. The only thought that I have in my mind is to make sure that everybody is going home safely. I didn't manage to do that job all the time, but mostly, and I'm very proud of it. And it's the most important thing to me in all of the stuff that I did as a soldier, and it's the only idea that I have in my head. And when I protest against the government, I also think that I'm protecting my brother in arms, and I'm protecting my country. So, but with much more anger. I let the anger come, and it drives me, and it's the engine to a lot of the active stuff when I do. But it's not when I'm in the military and I'm on reserve duty. There is no anger, only focus, only love, only care.
So last question, and then we open up for your questions. We spoke about throwing this anchor of hope into the future, into the better, freer future. Could you please share what would that future look like?
So for me, knowing that there are people like Yonathan that we met actually for the first time like a few days ago, knowing that there are people like Yonathan in the army that they're doing it from love, as you said, and knowing that in the future are gonna have politicians like Ayala that will fight for minorities and pluralistic values that I believe in. So for me, it's the people. I really, really believe in young Israelis and the after October 7th, that all of us felt that where is welfare, social services, the politician, the prime minister, nobody talked to us. For hours, we opened the TV, and the only people who talked to us were the journalists, and the journalists themselves said, where's that? So that was that, and the spokesman for the IDF. So I'm looking up, and I see nobody, but I'm looking at the people, and that gives me hope.
I really hope that in the future we will be able to have complicated conversations and conversations with people that are total opposites of me. If it's politically, if it's any other topic, I feel like it's a real problem. We cannot have complicated, tough conversations. And also, I really, really hope that we can have a moral conversation in Israel. I feel like that currently doesn't really exist. I mean, in my circles, maybe, but I don't think they represent all of the Israeli society, and especially when I come back home to Dimona, I really feel from the stories that my brother tells me from his high school. He's 17, and he's like, yeah, I was in this lesson and I said that everyone deserves a life, everyone deserves to live. And everyone was shocked and they were arguing with me and they were like, you don't love our country. And it's insane how we cannot hold a complicated conversation and a moral conversation. And I feel like the Hartman Institute does exactly that, try to give us words to have these complicated and moral conversations. So I'm very happy this is happening. So I really hope that in the future we will have a moral conversation, a complicated conversation in Israel.
Uh, I will say that, like both of my amazing colleagues said, there is a lot of really good people in Israel. I think about like conversation I have with I have a colleague that is the head of the Social Justice Center in East Jerusalem. Her name is Chala, and I talk to her a lot about my
Palestinian.
yeah, she is a Palestinian. I talked to her a lot about my reserve duty in Gaza, and I talked to her about the pain that I feel, and she talked about the pain that she feels about the stuff that happened in Gaza and the stuff that happened in East Jerusalem, and we really bond and felt each other pain. And if we can do it, I think there is hope. I do really think that if we change the government, it will be much better, not just for us. Also, I think we are doing you injustice into the Jewish community and all over the world, and especially in North America. I think that we give you a lot of you've been wrong by our government. I see. I when I met the amazing guys for Hillel and the teen fellowship program, I saw Jewish people with so much pride in their Jewish identity, so much love to the Jewish identity and the Jewish culture. It was amazing, and I think that we need to give you more attention. We need to give you better cards to handle here when you are on the campus, and we need to give you much better asbara. You are now doing it for free. You should be paid by the government, and I really think that will be hope after we win this election, and we'll change, and we'll go to much better liberal democratic Israel. There will be a lot of work. It's not gonna happen overnight, but I think that we can heal. After we change the government, we can heal. Because I look at the government every time I open my Facebook and I see the Knesset and I see the minister. I'm getting angry. I'm getting hurt. I'm staring at them and say, "How are you still in office? It's so crazy. What could happen? What worse can happen that they don't change the government?" And we cannot heal and we cannot grow until we change. And when we change, I have a lot of hope, and I'm very empowered from my 2 days here in the States. It's my first time in the States, which is amazing. It's like meeting a pen pal that we've been writing with other in like 29 years, and then you meet them for the first time and give you a lot of hugs, a lot of hugs. So it's an amazing experience, and I want to come back to Boston.
I think that's a great point to turn to you and hear your questions or comments. So yes, please, Amy, you're facilitating, right? You're with the microphone.
Let me just say, every time I go to Israel, I'm absolutely amazed by young Israelis. And you guys are a representative of that. I have two questions, one of which Amy might have to answer. But my first question is there any effort to try to get Haredim, young Haredim, to be part of this? I mean, all the publicity and discussion we see here is whether or not they'll serve in the IDF. But you're talking about a different issue. Will they join organizations to improve civil society? My second question, where's Amy? I remember years ago when I went on one of the Hartman trips, we went to Micha Goodman's institute, where he takes young Israelis out of the army, gives them civic lessons. I forget whether it's 3 months or 6 months. And he described having groups all over Israel, alumni. And my question related to that is there any relationship between the two efforts?
Wonderful. So I'll answer two excellent questions. I'll start with the second one. Yes, definitely. There are 10 participants of Hazon who were in Mabua or are now in Mabua, either working there or were there. So there's a lot of interconnections between Mabua, Micha Goodman's organization, and Hazon. There is also a lot of, there are places where we complete each other, because Hazon is more, both programs have both the activism and the making sure that we're all around, as Ayala said, that we're all around the table, even if it's a more diverse community. Mabua is making sure that there is a pluralistic space for everyone. Hazon also ensures pluralism. I think Hazon has a bit more of the activist political edge. And so that's how we complete each other. So that's to your second question. Yes, there is a lot of connections. By the way, the Haifa group also had I don't know, was it in your year? Because Yonathan, last year there was a Mabua event that was done together with the Hazon participants or Hazon alumni.
Yeah, for Tisha B'Av.
For Tisha B'Av, yes. So it was in the summer. And to your first question, we try to have, every year, every one of the 3 years that we've started, we had a Haredi applicant and even someone who was accepted to the program. And in each case, for technical reasons, but I'm assuming it wasn't just technical reasons, they didn't continue. It was too hard. The level of pluralism and liberalism of the discussion in the group. But I will say that, and that's not within Hazon, but Hartman Institute is bringing in voices from within the Haredi community. We are working on how do we create these connections. And outside of Hartman and within the Haredi community, there are initiatives of young Haredis who are trying different efforts. So yes, what we see and hear is the political leadership of the Haredis, which is really bad. I'll say it very clearly. I mean, it's not good for the Haredis and it's not good for Israel. But there are initiatives that are more grassroots and bottom up that do that kind of efforts.
I think there is no other choice than to integrate the Haredi into the society from so many point of view, from economic, from security, from social, and when you look at the society, you have to integrate them, and you have to do it with a much bigger reform than the stuff that are on the table. You have to go much deeper.
And if I can add, I'm working in a nonprofit, and we open in the center of Jerusalem social dorms at the building that used to be a hostel, and because of COVID and the war, it's closed, and we took over. And some of the students who live there are Haredi and want to integrate. And there is another nonprofit who rents from us, and they help Haredi to have like army service, but like optimal army service that will fit their needs. And I was surprised because, again, all in the media, we get like big headlines. But then when you see people to people, there are such a variety of people who want to integrate. So for me, that was a great learning.
Thank you.
Could you please clarify whether Hazon is really for Jews and the Jewish part of Israeli society, or is it because I feel like I'm hearing different things. I'm hearing, on the one hand, one of the purposes is to bring your Jewish identity to activism. And then I also hear that there's a social justice component.
Mhm.
Is the social justice component geared towards Jews, or is it geared towards all of Israel? Can you clarify?
So that's an excellent question. The Hazon program is for Jewish participants, the leadership training program, for a few reasons. First of all, just because the cohort, Jewish students in Israel are usually older than the Arab students, because Arabs go into the university at a much earlier age because they don't go to the army. So there's an age gap. We have a sister program called Diraya that is run by the Hartman Center for Shared Society that works with young Arab students in Haifa and in Beersheba. But your question is beautiful, because part of the Jewish identity that we want to develop and to encourage in Israel is one that sees social justice for everyone, for Jews and Arabs alike. The way we want people to formulate and develop their identity, their own Jewish identity, is through the connection and relationship to the other, the Arab other in Israel. So shared society is one of the topics that we work on. It's part of the curriculum. There are 2-3 sessions even going to be this year around issues of shared society and the identity of Palestinians who are Israeli citizens.
Yeah, hi. Do you work in collaboration with the New Israel Fund?
I was the director of Shatil until I came to Hartman, so the New Israel Fund is very close to my heart. It was my home for 17 years before. Some of the initiatives are New Israel Fund grantees. Some of the initiatives that Hazon alumni work in, some of them are in different collaborations. The Centers for Social Justice, for example, are grantees of New Israel Fund. And some of the activists who come to lecture in the sessions are New Israel Fund grantees as well.
You've used the term liberal democracy many times. Could you, as a political scientist, and each of you, I guess, define what you mean by liberal democracy?
Okay, Amy, we have until next Sunday. Do you want to start, or any of you?
Every time in my study that I heard the word liberal democracy from any other professor, they have all of them, every one of them had another way to describe it. But I think when you look at it at the macro level, when you look at it very, very maybe in a square way, it's a democracy that have the most free election that you can have without any segregation. They have equal right to minority, and I mean some of them will say some people will say a very strong justice system. I do believe in it. I mean, Israel is when it depends of your government method. I mean, if you look at a parliamentary democracy or a presidential democracy, they may be different, but in the whole, it have to be very aware to human rights, have free election and democratic principle as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
Do you also want to give your sentence of what is liberal democracy for you?
Yeah, for me, it's like very basic, and then it like strives from there. Everything else is kol adam nivra b'tzelem. Every person needs and has basic rights just because he's a human being. It doesn't matter his or hers identities. And
Nivra B'Tselem is created in the image of God.
yes, thank you. And I think that everything else is built from there.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And I think that, you know, we have democracy in, okay, the rules of the games and on the surface, but in the actual part of like a democracy, just I feel nowadays that, and it's again only my point of view, that people want to keep their chair and that this is what matters. And for me, all of this government after October 7th needed to put the keys on the table and said, it happened in our shift, goodbye. And as long as this doesn't happen, I don't feel that a true democracy can grow. And I think it's a sense of moral that now I don't have people to like look up to and get inspired from. So for me, it's most of that's the beginning.
And I will add to that it's the piece in the Declaration of Independence of Israel, that Israel will be based on and inspired by the spirit of the prophets of freedom, justice, and peace. And that's what Israeli liberal democracy should be like.
Yeah, the first question is, what can you tell us about especially in the last year, the soldiers that decided to not show up in service when they thought there were no clear goals in the last incursions? And how is it viewed in the society or in the army? And my second question is, how do you deal with close family and friends that they are in completely opposite sides of the political spectrum or religious?
I would like to answer the second question. No, because it just remind me a lot of stuff. My fiance's family are settler from Judea Samaria, and are from half of them are settler, half of them are Haredim, from Yemen descent. So, and we get along great. And you have to find the common ground for discussion and make them walk some mile with you in your shoes, in your thought. And sometimes you have to use a lot of soft skill to get away from argument. I remember a wedding when one of the uncles shout to me. I mean, wedding, it's not a place to have a political discussion. He shouted to me about how the Supreme Court is in charge of October 7th. And I said, and I ate my steak because I didn't want to get into a shouting match with him in a wedding with all the music, with the Yemen music in the background and everybody dancing. I didn't think it's the best place to do this argument. And I will go back to the first question. I cannot judge anybody that is not showing up to reserve duty. It's been such a crazy demand to come, leave your family, say goodbye to your mother, to your father, and go to war. I didn't know. I'm another person since it happened. I didn't know life. I think I have a little bit better understanding of life because I knew how it felt to know that you can lose everything. I remember the drive to the base from October 7. I was so tired, and I drove and I thought about what people will say in my eulogy because I didn't know where I going. I thought I listened to the radio and it sounded like all of Gaza is in the south, and I need to go there and fight them, and I didn't know where I'm going to and what is gonna be there. It was such a painful and hard experience, and people are going through it again and again and again and again, and they lose their business and they're getting divorced. I have a friend that got divorced not so long ago because his wife said, I cannot handle it. children doesn't get to see their father, and he doesn't get to walk them to school or read them a bedtime story. And when you're going through this, and you also think that maybe the stuff that you're doing, I mean, in the start it was very clear. We have to go, we have the hostages. I remember I have a soldier that he said, we are going to enter Gaza 20 and we're going to go back 22. Because he thought that we're going to find 2 hostages on the way and tell them, come, we are Israeli, come with us. It was such pure heart in the fighting in the Gaza envelope and in the Gaza Strip. And we did lose our way, and we found ourselves conquering the same neighborhood again and again, and we lost friend, and I lost friend for very stupid reasons, to my opinion, that I will never see again. I lost soldier under my command for stupid reasons, and it's very hard. I cannot judge the people that are choosing not to go to reserve duty and the people who are choosing to go to reserve duty. It's so hard. It's such a traumatic experience, and when you think that it's not the right thing to do, I don't know. It's very reasonable that you won't do it. But I don't know if my opinion is the same opinion as the other people that other reserve duty soldier and other people in Israel. I speak only I speak only my opinion and nothing else.
I think what Ayala said earlier, and I'll let you in a minute, but I think what Ayala said earlier about the need to be able to have a moral conversation is the most important thing around that question, because it's just impossible to hold this conversation in Israel. I mean, we're having it here, and you're all sitting very politely and listening, maybe because of the late hour, but in Israel, the room would be boiling. You can't have a conversation like that and not have people jumping up and shouting, because there's a lot of pain, because it's about my life, or about my son's life, or my partner's life, or my brother's life. And it doesn't matter if you're saying that you are going or you're not going, it's still about my life. And that's how people react to these huge questions. And it's really, really difficult to have a moral conversation around that. You wanted to add?
I think that my answer refers to both questions about people who decided to stop reserve, to stop from going, and from different perspective and point of views inside of families and friends. We are a nation in trauma, and now it's like we are just starting. It's only the beginning of getting to the phase of the post-trauma, and it's gonna be a long process of many, many years, and there is trauma here as well. You're facing so many things, and I think this meeting is extremely important and significant, because now I get to see what's happening here, because I only heard from my people on the phone, but there's a lot of shared trauma from so many different aspects, and I think that we sometimes just need to breathe into that, and not a lot of people talk about it enough, but the rate of suicide is very, very high, of parents of Nova survivors and people from the OTF and people who lost their family, or people who just saw things that changed their life completely. So I think, therefore, because of the trauma, the tolerance and the capacity of holding moral conversations or dealing with decisions like, I'm not going to go again to the army, is very, very low. So I think we just need to breathe through that and be patient as much as possible.
As Aaron said yesterday, 17 breaths. We need to breathe 17 times. 17, to just breathe 17 times.
Not 16, 17.
17.
That's the recipe.
I'm going to take the last question, unless I don't like the question, and then I'll take one more afterwards.
That is very democratic.
I always cause problems. First of all, kol hakavod. What you're doing is remarkable at this time, and your ability to hold those conversations is really important. So I have 2 questions. Number one, we have not used the term occupied territories. You use Judea Samaria. I choose to use occupied territories. I'm in the minority here, probably. What can you tell us about your views about what will happen on the West Bank with roughly 3 million Palestinians? Number two, are you aware of how deeply split the American Jewish community is? The antipathy, that's a word that means severe hostility, for someone like Trump, who is destroying the country I love day by day. And yet there's a gap between us as Israelis and Americans on that front. And I speak for my children and my grandchildren, what future they'll have in this country. That makes a, so those are two questions.
But we got along great so far.
I'm eager to start because I feel like you. I feel like I'm the minority in the room. And I feel that I need to be ashamed that I personally resist occupation and that I use terminology that for some people will face me, that will put me in a position of a traitor, like this left wing, this traitor. And so me personally, I want the Palestinian people to have nationality like the Jewish people wanted and needed nationality. So I can understand most than anybody else. So for me, that's the logic. This is the house that I grew up. My dad have left-wing point of views. For me, it was very theoretical. When I did my gap year, I started to deal with that things, to educate young Jewish people about, back then I called it the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Nowadays we call it the occupation. But in North America, that was the first safe space that I had in my life to speak out loud without being afraid of, I don't know if I will lose my job or if somebody will quote me. So I'm really scared in Israel, I must say. Hartman Institute is the first place that I'm not as scared as I used to be. And even as a commander in the IDF, I found the ways to speak out my point of views. Everything changed for the good after actually having Palestinian friends, studying with them, living with Abir, my partner, and it's completely changed my life. And I know that if living in Israel is living together, is acknowledging each other, and is trying to do whatever is possible to make these two nations to live together at the same land, because both of us love the same trees and the same sand and the same view. And I think that's beautiful. You know, when my friend is coming with a bag with the land of Israel, but it's in the colors of Palestine, we love the same lady. We call it in different names. But I think that this is like my dreams and my hopes, and hopefully that I will feel comfortable to answer you and not being in anxiety attack in Israel.
Yeah.
It's not, I don't feel safe right now to speak like that in Israel, sadly.
I would like to answer the second question. I think it relates to the inability to have a complicated conversation, because in Israel, Trump is like this big guy that brought us back the hostages, and he like forced our government to have this agreement and bring these people that we waited for them for so long. And I'm sure here it happened like the same thing, but not being able to have a complicated like view of Trump, of being like, okay, he pushed this agreement, but in America, to our Jewish brothers, he does these horrible things, and like anti-Semitic is going crazy. And like I feel like people are unable right now to have this complicated thought. And it's, we just talked about it, like very left-wing people suddenly were like, wow, we love Trump. Like he bought us back the hostages. Like he's the greatest guy. And me and my friends were like looking at them and like, yes, but he does so many other horrible things, but this is exactly the point. Like, it's such a complicated conversation and idea that it's very, very hard to hold in Israel. Yeah. And here too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would start with the answering the first question. I would say I'm not a spokesperson of any organization, not Balancing Out, not the Social Justice Center, not even Hartman. I'm not the official spokesperson. Maybe we can talk about a job interview later.
Because you have so much free time.
Yeah, I have so much free time. If anybody is selling more time in the day, I would like to buy. If anybody have any guy that sell it, a dealer. So it's very complicated in many ways, but it's very easy. It's a very easy answer for me. Two-state solution. I don't see anything else, and I have to believe that in the end it will happen. I don't know if it my lifetime, and it will be very complicated from our part, from the Palestinian part. We both sides made so many mistakes in this area. They made all the mistakes, and it will be a very, very hard job. I think first thing we need to do is come back to the negotiation table. I think I told you Ronit that on the way. It's the first thing we have to do. Because if I will live in a country that doesn't have a hope for peace, I don't know how can I live in a country like this. I have to have a hope for peace. And the only solution that I see is a two-state solution. And when it's come to, I'm going to skip to the second question. I hope I answered the first one. When it's come to Trump, my mother really hated Trump for all the time. She was a very strong supporter in Biden and Hillary and Kamala. But the subject of the hostage, it was so close to the heart of all of the Israeli. It was the most important thing. It was the most important thing. And we didn't care about anything. We just wanted them back. It was so strong. And we now feel so much gratitude. But I think it's temporary. Because Trump is gonna change. Trump is gonna leave.
He's not
office.
stable.
He's not here to stay for more than 4 years. I hope, if not something like since FDR, there wasn't a president that was more than 2 terms. So I hope so nothing will change, and Trump will leave. And we need to look on the long term and to see how we still uphold for democratic and liberal view and support Israel. And to do it, it's very complicated. You need to think about stuff in the way, understand that you support a country that causes pain, and not be blind to the pain it causes, but to think how you can make sure that they cause less pain, and to support them, and to support the part that want to cause less pain and is encouraging the peace, and to support the country with a lot of complexity. Israel is not straightforward. We are very, very complex. We have so many. I mean, the country of the Jewish people, 10 million people, 10 billion opinions, and it's very complicated. But you have to think to the long term and to see how can you, like Ayala said, make this conversation this very complicated one, and make sure that you support Israel, but don't compromise on your democratic and liberal views.
Thank you. So I want to, when you asked the question about Judea and Samaria and the occupation, I had a moment of reflection. I was like, oh wow, we're using the words Judea and Samaria, and as someone who uses the word usually West Bank, it made me think that I've become. So I heard. So and I usually use the West Bank and and it made me realize how much in the effort of broadening the conversation in Israel about the challenges of what it means to be in control of other people, we have, or I personally have, changed the language in a way that I hope more Israelis will be able to hear me. Now, it doesn't mean that I think it enables, there's greater potential for that. It's very different here. But that is part of what we try to do at Hartman. We try to create a conversation that will enable more people to join and ask the questions of why it is a problem to be holding the occupied territories, to be controlling the lives of other people, and not to let Palestinians have their own right for self-determination and their own national identity. And so it is a challenging question of how to do that and hold the social coalition that we want to create at the same time. But I do believe that one of the things that Israel can grow from is the fact that Israel potentially could be the example for what it means that diversity is a natural thing for the region. Diversity is what the Middle East should be about, and not just Israel itself, but Israel and its neighboring countries. And so my hope is that we will be able to translate those ideas into something that will not only happen within Israel, but also happen in the relationship of Israel and the other countries around it. And before I move it to Amy, I just want to say thank you to all of you for being here and for being with us. It's a very long, and as my friends, my wonderful friends here said, it's a long and it's a difficult journey. It's a path that requires a lot of patience and a lot of pacing, and it takes time. But doing it together with you makes it so much deeper, and in many ways also easier, because we're being held by you, and we're being held by all the perspectives that are here in this room and in the relationship between Jews in Israel and Jews here in the United States. So thank you.
Thank you. I thank you all for coming, and I thank you for bringing us the hope that we so desperately needed. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.